Hey everybody, it's the sadist that laughs, Mr. Miserable back at it again. And today is Thursday, January 18th. There was a couple of things I kind of wanted to talk about today. So actually, I'll probably do two videos today just because we had the playoffs that just happened over last weekend. Plus, we had the Iowa State Caucus that happened on Monday on Martin Luther King's birthday, or the celebration of Martin Luther King's birthday. So I think I'm gonna do the voting in Iowa on this segment, and I'll probably do another segment about sports or just things in general on my other video. But anyway, so we had the Iowa State caucus on Monday, and Trump won, and he won by a wide margin. And it was crazy because the weather out there was crazy, but people still showed up to vote, which I applaud them for that. The weather was nasty, but people still got out there to vote. Um, was I surprised that Trump won? No, I wasn't. But it is just kind of surprising the fact that you got a man that's facing 90 criminal charges is still allowed to be on the ballot in certain states. I believe Colorado did take him off, and I think another state is in the was have either or is in the process of taking them off their ballot. Um, this is going to be interesting because I think it's going to wind up going to the Supreme Court or on whether or not he can be taken off the ballots and things like that. Because I'm pretty sure his team is going to fight it. Me personally, uh, I don't know. Like, I find it crazy that people are still voting for him, but that's just me. Everybody has a right to choose what they want to do when it comes to that. If he's still on the ballot, people can still choose for him, and I think that's why Colorado just had enough sense to like, look, we're not even putting them on the ballot, and they're going to leave it up to the Supreme Court whether or not he can fight whether he can be put back on there or not. I feel like what Colorado did was a smart thing because we know people in the Republican Party will be voting for him as long as he's on the ballot. Um, Number two was DeSantos, who I feel like he has not a shot in hell of getting there. But I find Nikki Haley very interesting because I look at Nikki Haley as a possible candidate just because of the standpoint. First, she's, I guess you would call her a moderate conservative, but I just see her like DeSantos has already ruffled so many feathers in his time as governor of Florida. I Trump is Trump. It's like one of them things with Trump, like you just know what you're getting when you get in Trump. Like you just know what you're gonna get. Nikki Haley to me is the wild card. But the funny thing is in the Republican Party, it's are they willing to let a woman be the presidential nominee? And I say that because it's like we've been talking about this shit for years. The Republican Party racist. I'm gonna go into that in a second, but I feel like the Republican Party is very sexist. More so, I feel more so than the Democratic Party. Um, I know over the past couple of days, Joy Reid kind of got into some trouble over making comments that she said basically, Trump won Iowa because it's just overrepresented by white Christians, who support Trump. I mean, even if that's the case, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we pretty much had a feeling that Trump was going to win Iowa anyway. It's going to be interesting because the New Hampshire primary is next week, and they feel like she could have a great chance to take that. And it's funny because Trump has already started doing the little stuff Trump do, the little calling her out her name. He recently came out and said that she's in love with China and being supported by Democrats. Oh, Trump going Trump, and that's basically the thing with Trump. Trump is going to Trump. Um, I think there's a lot of Republicans that are very tired of Trump, but I think they're kind of scared of Trump and they're scared to say anything about Trump just because of the backlash he's going to give. Like he's very good with getting on stage and running his mouth. And that's what I'll just say about Trump. And personally, as a voter, I can't stand Trump or Biden, and I'm just going to be honest. You know, I feel like we need fresh blood in here. And what I'm about to say, it may come off as is sounding like an ageist. Like what? One's 77, the other one's fucking 80. I mean, I don't, I don't get it. Like I really don't. And I hate to be the one to say like, why don't they just go sit their old ass in the corner somewhere and just retire? But we've already, how many jokes have we already seen about people talking about Biden sometimes looking like he's incoherent and things of that nature, you know? And because remember it was a couple of years ago when, no, shit, just a year ago, that Don Lemon basically got fired because he made the comment about Nikki Haley and her age, but he never said the same thing about Trump and Biden. Like both of these motherfuckers pushing 80. Like, come on, let's be real. You know, it's like, I mean, I guess it is what it is. The world of politics and the world of these political news channels and stuff like that. I honestly hate fucking CNN and Fox News. I'm not even gonna lie. They both just propaganda to whatever side they want to propaganda to. Um, but when it comes to this political game that they playing, honestly, I was hoping that the former governor of Maryland would have ran. I think he looked at the Republican landscape and was like, "Fuck that." And I see that from the standpoint of um, Governor Hogan basically was just an independent. Basically, if you really look at Governor Hogan, I really think he basically did what Trump did. I think he was an independent in Maryland who just saw he had a better chance to run as Republican than he won as a Republican. Same thing with Trump. Trump isn't really a Republican. He basically was just an independent who just knew if he jumped on the Republican bandwagon, they were going to endorse him. And that's what it is. And that's how he won, you know? I mean, but I guess a lot of Republicans feel that he shares their values, you know, make America great again, whatever you take it at. You know, it was funny because I've always tried to give Candace Owens chances. Like every time I hear Candace Owens say something, I try to give her a chance because I always look at it like, as a black person in America, I feel like we need both sides. We need every angle, as I would say, and I say that from the standpoint of like blacks have a weird way of kind of attacking each other. Where it's like if a black person doesn't necessarily see things if the way the majority of blacks see things, you know, we so quick to call them Uncle Tomish, or they a coon, they this, they that. And I've always tried to give Candace Owens kind of like a pass just because I look at it like we always need blacks on every spectrum. Just like how whites are on every spectrum. I think blacks need to be on every spectrum as well. Like not every black should see things the same way. Um, but she did a post right before the Iowa State Caucus had happened, and she was like, you know, I'm not going to try. She's like, and it was kind of like she was like, well, I'm not going to try to pick the winner because I stopped doing that. And she's like, you know, the people have the right to choose whoever they want to choose, blah, 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 blah. But then at the end of the statement, she goes, but don't vote for Nikki Haley. And I was kind of like, I didn't, I didn't get it. Because, like, to me, when she put the don't vote for Nikki Haley, it was like everything in the post she had put on, I think it was on X. I think it was X. It was like everything she put in that post basically just was like, you just negated everything you put in that post. Because how are you going to tell people, well, I'm not going to suggest who you vote for, but don't vote for Nikki Haley? I don't know. I mean, it's hypocrisy like that that just kind of throws me crazy. Even though to me, even though I think of the three candidates, I would probably like Nikki Haley the most out of the three, but she kind of lost me a little bit the other day when They were talking about racism in America, and she could have answered that question so much better than how she answered it. You know, she was like, you know, I think she was saying the United States of America has never been a racist country. Um, I guess it depending on what side of the pot you're on, especially as her father is from India. If she was to get the nominee, she would be the first, not only the first woman presidential nominee from the Republican side, but she would be the first Indian person of Indian descent. You know, and she's talked about how she's grown up facing discrimination and things of that nature. So for her to say the United States is not a racial country is kind of weird. I guess it was just her bantering to the Republican Party because you know the Republican Party is majority white, which I guess I don't know. I don't know if I call that sell outish. I mean, it did just felt a little weird. I mean, her saying that because me as being a black person, if somebody had made a comment saying, "Oh well, you know, the United States isn't a racial country," I'd have to beg to differ, you know. But I think I would have worded it to be a little bit more politically correct, of course, to whoever the fan base I'm trying to pander to. I would have probably said something like, you know, the United States does have a racial history, but me as your presidential nominee, I would be taking the strides and the forefront to be making this country better for everybody, not just my people, but all the people, because we are the people. Point blank and simple. I think she just could have worded her stuff a little bit better than how she worded it, and I think it just really came off as just angry, making a lot of people angry that she could be trying to bring to her side because she's kind of looked at as the candidate that could bring independence over to her side because we know there's a lot of independents who are kind of like on the loose. There's a lot of independents who don't want to vote for Trump. There's a lot of independents that don't want to vote for Biden. She could be that bridge gap to get Republican nominees and bring over independents and bring over Democrats that aren't really satisfied with Biden. I mean, me personally, the reason I've kind of been talking about the Republican side right now is because it's funny because I hear a lot of blacks talk about what they call culture vultures. And you know, a lot of times they'll bring up, who's the guy to be on YouTube a lot? They'll bring up Vlad. They'll bring up Michael Rappaport. To me, you know who the biggest culture vultures are? It's those white Democrats who, when it's coming time for the elections, when it's coming time for a voting year, they like to shuck and jive. And they like to be up in the black churches because they know they need that vote. Those are the real culture vultures. But see, people don't like saying that. They don't like calling out these Democratic white leaders for that. I don't give a fuck because I'm not a fan of either side. I'm always in the middle. Like, I vote independent. Like, it's funny because where I live at, I had to go down to Perkins Projects in that area because I worked in that area. And so I just dropped by the elementary school in that area. And I was like, I was just going to put in a absentee ballot because it's not the place I'm registered at. But it was closer to my work, so I just went down there on my way to work. And the guy was like, "Oh, who's your?" He's like, "Who's your?" He's like, "What party are you with?" And I was like, "I was independent." And it was like it was an older black guy, and it was like he paused, like when I said it, like almost like he was shocked to hear that I was an independent. But honestly, for me, like neither side really serves me. And like I've literally joked in the past how I feel like as black men, I feel like you want to know a group that they do not give a fuck about when it comes to political pandering. They don't give a fuck about the black male. I'm just being honest. Like the black male is non-existent when they think about pandering to people for votes. They do not give a fuck about the black male. I've even said gone so far to say black males should maybe start their own party. Cause it's like, yeah, they don't give a fuck about the black male vote. They really don't. You know, and I don't know if because they look at us as like, oh well, half these motherfuckers got criminal records or whatever like that, so they don't vote. There's a lot of black males who can vote. They're just not interested in the bullshit y'all feeding because you're not feeding anything of interest to most black males. That's just point blank and simple. Y'all not feeding shit to the black male right now that would really make him vote for either party. The Democrats failed the black community so many times. Let's put like somebody pull up that fucking Breakfast Club video when Joe Biden went on there and got into it with Charlemagne. Because Joe Biden ain't really done shit for nobody since he been in office. And I mean, I hate to call Joe Biden out like that because there's a lot of presidents who make these false promises. But this man literally went on the Breakfast Club and said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. The man went on the Breakfast Club and said, if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. Like Joe Biden ain't shit to me. That being said, I damn sure don't fuck with Trump. Like dealing with these two is literally looking at which arm I want to cut off when it comes to me going to vote this year. Because like I said, in fact, what was it last week? Yeah, Biden went to the church where the nine people shot, he got killed. Like but you know who started the blueprint? To me, Clinton started the blueprint because that's what Clinton did when Clinton started getting in trouble. He started going to the black churches, and it might have been doing before Clinton, but I think Clinton was around the time where I really started being able to vote. So like that's when I noticed it the most was when it was Clinton, and it's kind of been like the Democratic playbook, like oh yeah, it's almost voting time. I got to go to the black cities and talk to my black friends because we need those black votes. I mean, it's sickening, it's disgusting, but unfortunately, we keep falling for it. Um, I don't know. Personally, like I said, I vote independent. I try to vote for who I feel is the best candidate, and it's crazy because there's some things about me that's conservative. There's some things about me that's liberal. So honestly, I just vote for who I feel is going to do the best job at the time. I'm not even gonna lie. Um, shit. Since I've been voting, I think my presidents I voted for Biden, um, Clinton. Of course, Biden won. Clinton lost. Um, Obama. Bush. I did vote for Bush. I'm not gonna lie, I did vote for Bush Jr. And I think that was it because I didn't start voting until I was 20. I think that's when I actually started voting, and it was weird because it was actually I'm not even gonna say his name, but I was going to school to be a mortuary scientist, and one of the young men I worked with was going to school with. We was taking the embalming class together, and he was of Polish descent, and we were just talking and joking, and and it's funny because with it being in honor of Martin Luther King's birthday on Monday, but we were just having a discussion, and me being ignorant, sometimes you don't really think about other cultures, but like I said, he was of Polish descent, and he was like, yeah, he was like his people couldn't vote when they first came over here, and me and I didn't even think about it because all I thought when I saw him was just another white kid. Like we was the same. He was a year older than me, but yeah, I just thought about another white kid, and he was like, yeah, he's like, my people had to fight for the right to vote. So he was like, why would he not vote? And so it just made me think about the history of my people, and of course, like literally after but it took somebody from another culture for them to say that to make me think like, damn, like I'm taking a disadvantage of what my ancestors did for me, to waste the opportunity that my ancestors basically fought and died for, which is why I vote. And sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, it's some of these candidates you make you feel like, Jesus Christ, like no, I don't want to vote this shit. But you know what? still, it's your choice being made because you not voting might put the worst motherfucker in there that shouldn't even be in there at all. And that's basically what I was the choice I was with the last election. Like, yeah, I not a big Trump fan. I knew Trump to be the liar the way he was, but I felt like another 4 years of Trump would be even worse than the first 4 years. So I voted for Biden. Like I said, the time before that, I voted for Clinton because I had just saw during the debates the type of person Trump was, and I was like, I go off of energy, and I feel like I can sense a person's energy very easily. And just from the debates, I felt like I could sense Trump's energy, and I just wasn't feeling it. But like I said, I feel like I'm in the middle. Like, perfect example is gun laws. Um, Hillary Clinton has said it best during her debate, and they kind of cut her off because she said it towards the end of the end of her debate. But like she said, she wasn't trying to take guns away from people, but people need to be better. How do I want to say it? They need to be better vetted and certified before they're able to carry guns. Perfect example is I brought my shotgun. I bought it offline. Bought it online. It got sent to the firearms dealer. Got to the firearms dealer. The guy did the background check on me before I could pick it up. Had no problem with that whatsoever. I feel like that's the right way to go. Maryland has one of the tougher gun laws in the country, and I'm all for that. I do feel like we need to restrict it so not everybody can get a gun. I almost feel like maybe it needs to be like a driver license. Not everybody can drive a car. They're not supposed to. These times with these guns is just getting so out of hand. And I have no problem with them properly certifying the vetting people before they can purchase guns. I feel like that's the way it's supposed to be. Not everybody should just be able to go to a store and get a gun. You just shouldn't be able to. I mean, I'm sorry, and if somebody takes offense to that, then yeah, not everybody should. Not everybody can get behind the wheel of a car. You have to get a license to get behind the wheel of a car. A car, if used wrong, can be just as dangerous as a fucking gun. And that's why they put restrictions on people being able to get a fucking driver's license. So you mean to tell me you can just some of these Republicans just want to be able to go get any kind of firearm they want to? I mean, no, I feel like there needs to be restrictions on it. You just don't want anybody walking around with just any kind of firearm. I'm sorry. There's too many stories about kids every week going into places just shooting at people. Too many stories of adults just going anywhere and shooting at people. If they need mental background checks, if they need whatever kind of background checks, I'm all for that. I'm sorry, and if anybody feels a different time the way, you're entitled to your opinion. I have no problem with you having your opinion because it's your opinion. This is just my opinion. I feel like there needs to be restrictions and better laws on people purchasing guns. I'm just sorry, and that's the way I feel. But there are other things that conservatives do like that I do agree with. It's like I look at both sides. I try to look at the both sides of every story. And like I said, there's some things with the liberals I do agree with. There's some things with Republicans I agree with. That's one of the main reasons why I vote independent because I just don't feel like I owe an allegiance to either party. Um, that being said, we have the New Hampshire primary coming up next Tuesday, and Nikki Haley. She had to step off anyway because her father felt ill, so she stepped off. I think it was Tuesday night. She had to kind of step off the trail for a minute to make sure her father was okay. But I remember they were supposed to have like a debate on Thursday, but she was like she wasn't going to be there because she feels like there's no need for her to be there if Trump's not going to be there. So I guess DeSantis is going to be having a one man comedy special by himself on Thursday if he's the only one who shows up because DeSantis is still signed on for it. But I don't think Nikki Haley's going to be there, and I think Trump's not going to be there neither. That's why Nikki Haley says she's not going to be there because Trump's not going to be there. But other than that, what are other people's opinions on voting and elections and things like that? I mean, me personally, like I said, Martin Luther King's birthday passed, and not even Martin Luther King, because there are other great civil rights leaders who fought for our right to vote, who fought for our rights to do things that for fair, that are still fighting for us to have fair equality in this country. So it's like and this is just my opinion on voting, because sometimes I also agree with what those idiots from South Park had made a great comment one time when they was talking about the fact that, remember when the whole rock the vote thing had came out, and it kind of disgusted me seeing these celebrities talking about vote or die and things of that nature, because when they had spoke to the two guys from South Park, and I forgot which one said it, but he was like, as an American, he's like, if I don't feel decided or if I don't feel confident in either candidate, he said I also have the right not to vote, which is also true. If you really don't feel confident in either candidate, you also have the right not to vote. Because you know what? And like I said, I felt like this just the last election myself. I honestly felt like neither candidate deserved my vote. Like I honestly felt that way, you know. But it's really up to you at the end of the day, you know. And that's why I got disgusted by the whole vote or die. You had Puffy and them on fucking MTV talking about, vote or die, do this. And it was funny because Bush still won. Um, but like I said, it is what it is, you know. It's funny because, and I'm not even gonna lie, I'm the type of person, I don't like celebrities. I don't. Typically, for me, if I see a celebrity endorse something, I typically go the other way. Not gonna lie. And remember, like about maybe a year, 2 years ago, they had the whole thing about the Chris we hate the most. And it was funny because I think it was Chris Pratt was the most hated Chris. And I'm thinking like, why? Because I thought it was more because of the fact I started off liking Chris Pratt. Then I started to realize some of his characters are almost all the same. Like I feel like he's just playing the same character over and over again. But it even wasn't because of that. I think it had started because when Endgame he came out, he didn't go to none of the Democratic support parties. But he said something to me that was so perfect, because he came out and said, "Who am I to try to influence other people's votes?" And you know what? I commended him so much for him saying that. Just because, all because you have a name, don't mean you know shit about politics. Like, yes, you're an actor. And I hate the, and not, you know me, like, I'm all for freedom of speech and things like that. But stay in your lane. And I say I hate saying that because I remember when that woman from Fox Sports had got on my nerves when she told LeBron shut up and dribble. And whether I'm a LeBron James fan or not, LeBron James has the right to voice his opinion. Because she didn't say that to Drew Brees when Drew Brees had made the comments about kneeling in the National Football League. So it was like kind of like a real big hypocrisy for her to call out LeBron James for his comments. But then when Drew Brees had kind of said what he said about the kneeling in the National Football League, it was kind of like, she's like, oh, well, he has his right to his opinion. Well, if Drew Brees has the right to his opinion, then so does LeBron James. And even with the Chris Pratt thing, like, even though I said I don't like celebrities, at the same point, yes, they have the right to their opinions. But just like Chris Pratt said, but don't force your opinion on other people. You don't have the right to force your opinion on other people. And that's why typically when I hear celebrities say a certain thing, I'm like, first of all, I can't fucking stand y'all anyway. Second is like, who the fuck is you to making an official opinion on me on who I should be voting for? You know. But other than that, it is what it is. And yes, this video did go way longer than what I expected it to. But sometimes it is what it is. It's funny because I do like talking about politics, religion, things like that nature. I just always tell people, just don't have those discussions at work. Like I had a discussion with a young man about that one time because he was getting cussed out at the front by a couple of young ladies that we worked with, and I walked up to the front because I was doing some paperwork in the back, some of my manager duties, and I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, why these two young ladies were so pissed off? And you know, he explained it to me, and I told him, I like, the best advice I can give you is when you're at work, you don't talk about sex, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion. Typically, that keeps the workplace cool, you know. But you know, you have to learn for yourself for that. You have to learn for yourself. But anyway, as I always say, be nice, be kind, have a great day. And you know what? I'll probably push my sports video to tomorrow. That's because this one was so long. But until then, like I said, have a great one. Be safe. Look out for each other. And do the best you can.